to the Dallas Cowboys. Something will go wrong.
Prescott back to throw. He's going to heave one down the left side. Des Bryant makes a leaping catch. Is he in? Oh, ball comes out. So take the 24-yard touchdown off the board.
Dallas gives you a reason to laugh at them.
Manning in a shotgun set. He throws it into the end zone. Touchdown, Giants. Victor Cruz. And he breaks out the salsa.
What have I continuously said? The Dallas Cowboys, they are not a team that enjoys prosperity.
Prescott, he's back to throw. He sidearms one right and wide open along the right side and caught. But he didn't go out of bounds. Is Terrence Williams. Now the Cowboys hustle on the line. 3 seconds, 2 seconds. They're not going to get the playoff. Ball game over.
This is what they do. This is what they do. Dallas Cowboys are an accident waiting to happen.
And with that, Stephen A. right about those Cowboys yet again. Good morning, everybody. Hope you all had a wonderful weekend. Welcome into another week of First Take.
What's up, bro? What's going on, man? How you doing? Molly, it's so good to see you. It's so good to see y'all. How are y'all doing? How was your weekend?
Fantastic.
How was your weekend?
Oh, fantastic.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I assure you, it was not better than mine. I promise you that. It was not better than mine. Let's go. Don't we have a show to do?
We
Let's
do.
Go.
Our first NFL Sunday in the books. There has
Yeah.
never been a week with closer games in NFL history. We have so much to talk about. Let's get into it. So Carson Wentz, he impresses in his first NFL game against a team that passed on him in the draft. How are the Browns feeling about that? That is a bit later, but you know where we're starting. How about them Cowboys? It went down to the wire in Jerry's world. Down 20-19. Dallas took over at their own 20-yard line with 1:04 left on the clock. The drive fell short. 8 plays later, as wideout Terrence Williams caught a pass in Giants territory, but failed to get out of bounds in time. And that was the game, folks.
Did you feel like you had an angle to get out?
Yeah, that's why that was the whole purpose of me cutting it in to go right back to the sideline so we can pick up more yardage, because I was thinking about on the breaking the huddle, it was already 3rd and like 13, and so in my mind I was trying to make the first guy miss but then just dive out of bounds, but it just didn't go as planned. I should have just followed the rules and just went out of bounds.
Did you think you had more time?
No, the time wasn't the problem. I was clearly aware of the time. I was just it was just something that I was just thinking of, and it was just like a bang bang moment. And now that I have a chance to just sit back and think on it, I should just went out of bounds.
The Dallas Morning News sums it up with the headline, "Wrong Direction." Stephen A., I'll say it again. How about them Cowboys?
First of all, I appreciate Terrence Williams and how he manned up, but if you make a mistake like that, the spotlight is already on you. What you don't need to do is wear a bright gold type tie that just shines an even bigger light on you. You don't need more attention. You already have it. Now let me get to what I witnessed yesterday. It's very, very interesting. Because he came out there, Dak Prescott, looked pretty good. Looked pretty good. Had a pretty good game. Ultimately ended up, throwing 25 or 45, 227 yards, not an interception, no touchdown, even though he was in the red zone about 5 times. No touchdowns, but he didn't turn the ball over, deserves the credit where it's due. But the hell with all of that right now this morning. The hell with all of that. Because you see, when we talk about the Cowboys, what do I always say? What do I religiously say? I call them an accident waiting to happen, and I say just take your time. Just be patient. Somehow, some way, Max, they will find a way to screw up. It's who they are. It's just who they are. They cannot help themselves. I have never questioned the Dallas Cowboys' talent. I have never questioned the brilliance of their interception for 8 yards. Don't speak to that. I know that Terrence Williams can play. I know that Jason Witten's a future Hall of Famer. I know that Ezekiel Elliott can play, even though he didn't look that great last night, and I'll get to him. Okay, I get all of that. I know their offensive line is stopped. But it doesn't matter. When it's the Cowboys, something will happen. Just sit. All you have to do is be patient, and they will find a way. I should have known this. Now, I picked them to win this game against the Giants. I was wrong. I don't care. I am happy to be wrong. It does not bother me in the slightest. Here is why. It's because of how they lost. Had they went up in there and just got smacked around or whatever the case may be, I would have been embarrassed by my pick. But as this game unfolded, I mean, the gods were just shining down on me. They were thinking about me, Max. He was thinking about me. The good Lord above was thinking about me. Because let's look at the last minute and 4 seconds. Dallas Cowboys get the ball. You desperately, desperately need to go down there and get a field goal. Now, mind you could have stopped the Giants, got the ball back earlier. But no, you allowed Rashad Jennings to look like the second coming of Emmitt Smith, for crying out loud. They kept giving him the ball. He rushed for about 35 yards and 6 carries. He got you 2 consecutive first downs, ultimately chewing out the clock, making you use all of your timeouts. You have nothing left available to you if you are the Dallas Cowboys. You got to get downfield. So what happens? They throw a pass to Jason Witten. He misses it. Why? Because the light, the sun shining down from the sky.
True.
It blinded him. I'm not making this up.
Football gods did not want them to win.
I'm not making this up. The sun is shining down on Texas Stadium, and it blinded him, so he couldn't see the pass. That was point number 1. Then you got an offside penalty by one of your offensive linemen. That's point number 2. And then last but not least, Mr. Terrence Williams, okay? Not Des Bryant, not Jason Witten, not even Cole Beasley, who was targeted 14 times, by the way, treating him like he's Des Bryant. But it was Terrence Williams. What does he do? You catch the football, you need to turn to your right, go out of bounds. What do? You go left. You get tackled, 6 seconds left. What happens? You're done. Excuse me. Why is that relevant here? Because Mr. Dan Bailey, y'all know that guy? Do you know his name?
Killing it all game.
How many field goals did this dude kick? You trying to tell me after the 56-yard field goal, this would have been about a 62-yard field goal. The previous 56-yard field goal that he kicked, which, by the way, he had kicked a 46, but it was penalized, so that to push him back 10 yards, okay? He still made that with ease. You trying to tell me he couldn't make an extra 6-yard field goal? Of course he could have. But his teammate, Terrence Williams, didn't give him the chance. And then last but not least, after such a boneheaded play, inexplicably displayed, you have no business making that kind of play. You practice for this, you train for this, you know better, you make the mistake anyway. What does your coach Jason Garrett do? He comes over there, the ultimate cheerleader himself, sitting there batting heads with everybody, every little play they make. He's celebrating with Des Bryant with the TD catch that he had, not realizing it was going to be called back because he lost possession. You're slapping everybody high five. You're patting everybody on the helmet. You're celebrating prematurely. This is from your head coach, mind you. Your head coach is celebrating as prematurely as the players do. And then Terrence Williams screws up, and what do? You go over there and pat him on the back. The glorified cheerleader of a coach that you have, that's how he chose to conduct himself. You cannot make this stuff up. I'm so surprised. Dallas Cowboys, once again, come through, not for their fans, not for themselves, but they certainly came through for me, being exactly who I know you to be. I'm so surprised. Max.
Well, this is not going to be pleasant for me. I picked the Giants to win. Saying something good about the Cowboys is like poison in my mouth. I hate it. However, Cowboys fans should feel pretty good this morning. I got to tell you.
Because
the Giants were lucky to win that game. First of all, McAdoo doesn't go for it 4th and 1. That was really, and head football coaches are by and large cowards when it comes to this kind of stuff. They coach to not be second-guessed. They coach to not lose rather than to try to win. 4th and 1, you're almost 65% likely to make a 4th and 1, just generally. But you brought it up. Did you see the way the Giants were running the ball on Dallas, on that defensive line?
That's right.
They were running it with no problem. I would say it's at least a 75% proposition that the Giants get an extra yard, and if they get that 1 yard, game over. But okay, they don't. So they punt. It doesn't turn out very well. Really, Dallas was in a position to win that game, and they should have won it. But Terrence Williams made a boneheaded play. Didn't run out of bounds. If he runs out of bounds, the chances are Dallas does win the game. So if you're a Dallas Cowboys fan, you're sitting there going, I don't have my starting quarterback. I'm starting a rookie quarterback. He's playing against, look, for what it's worth, the class of the NFC East. probably the best team in the division, at least on paper, if not in fact. We will find out. And against that team, with a rookie quarterback, who, by the way, when you look at the way the Giants are constructed, they spent that money on the D-line and on the corners. You look at the D-line and the corners, they're really good for the Giants. It's the linebackers and the safeties that are the problem. So can Dak Prescott not link up with Dez Bryant too much down the field? Well, from a rookie quarterback with good corners against a receiver, I can see that. But if you're a Cowboys fan, you're thinking, even with all of that, the Giants were lucky to beat us. They were lucky.
Let me say this. I get your point about the Giants having good corners, and we know that. Eli Apple didn't look bad yesterday at all. Let's give him some props. Dominic Rodgers, Cromartie, Jenkins, they all showed up. They performed. But at the same time, we talk about Dez Bryant here. If he doesn't have a stellar game, I understand that. One reception for 8 yards? No, I'm not accepting that. You need to do better than that. And not only that, and it's primarily not his fault because they targeted Beasley 4 times. They targeted Witten 12 times, okay? So that's an issue in and of itself because that speaks to the game planning of Jason Garrett and his offensive coordinator and the fact that they didn't get Dez Bryant involved enough. Not to mention the fact, let's recall that Dez Bryant is a relatively temperamental dude. You might not want him out there getting targeted only 3 to 5 times, only catching 1 reception for 8 yards. It's going to be hell for you if you don't get him actively involved. And last but not least, Max Kellerman, I got to say this, all right? And we will revisit this in the days and the weeks to come. I am keeping my eyes on Ezekiel Elliott. It was just one game. Please don't get me wrong. 51 yards on 20 carries, an average of 2.6 yards per carry. That is not impressive. Alfred Morris came from the Redskins, performed considerably better in the second half. I would have gone with him more if I were the Cowboys. Let me say this about Ezekiel Elliott. There is a name that jumps out in my mind when I'm watching him on this level. I know he was a stud at Ohio State. I know he can play the game of football. It was just one game, his first game in the NFL as a rookie, and that was a beautiful touchdown run that he had. The flip side is this. When I saw him, you know the name I thought of? Trent Richardson, out of Alabama. You know, miniature dude, stocky, hardcore, rough rider, but didn't have the elusivity that you need to have
Nor
on
did
the
he
NFL
have this
level.
offensive line
That's
that
what
Ezekiel
I'm saying.
Elliott
That's
has.
right. And so when I'm looking at Ezekiel Elliott, again, I get the fact that you're a rookie, and I'm not trying to judge him prematurely. I'm just acknowledging we need to keep our eyes on him because if he ain't the most elusive dude in the world on the NFL level, how good can I expect you to be? That is a question mark. Plus, I'd like to see him catch passes out of the backfield. But I am looking at him with a raised eyebrow right now.
So, if you're a Cowboys fan, you got to look at it and say, given everything you just said and everything I just said, you got to look at it and say, rookie quarterback, Dez could not be worse in terms of his contribution on the field statistically. Ezekiel Elliott, I don't care if you think he's going to be a bust. He ain't getting worse than 2 yards a carry. Ezekiel Elliott's going to get better because he can't get worse. Dez Bryant, we all know, is better than what he showed yesterday. And the Giants were lucky to beat you by a point. They were lucky. If you're a Cowboys fan, you're thinking, look, we're not in the worst position of all time.
But I will close it by saying this. I forgive you for your ignorance in this particular situation with this subject, Max Kellerman, and here is why. If you're not thinking about the history of the Cowboys, they find ways to mess it up for themselves. See, you're thinking, oh, you're still lucky because you know you still only lost by 1 point. No, they'll go against Super Bowl champions and be up by 14 and lose. They'll go against a scrub team and get blown out. They find ways to mess it up because it's in their DNA. They can't help themselves. They just can't help themselves.
And their defense was gassed enough that they made the Giants' offensive line look like the Cowboys' offensive line late in that game.
As soon as he didn't go out of bounds, in my head, I hear Stephen A. Say it with me now, people. Accident winning time. But as a Giants fan, right, it's an ugly win, but a win's a win, and the Giants are one.
Cowboys?
You know.
We're going to get into the Giants later on.
Looking forward to that.
We will.
So that's the fellas' thoughts on yesterday's NFC East battle. But we want to hear from you guys. Did the Giants prove they should be the favorite in the NFC? Go to Twitter now and cast your vote. We'll share those results a little later in the show.